Wait, what? There are no trains in Palos Verdes. Clickbait. Or is it? Today, we'll examine the plans and the trains of the Palos Verdes Peninsula on PCZ TV.
PCZ TV.
So you're totally correct. There are no trains in PV, and there never were. But there were plans for trolleys, and there was a Palos Verdes Peninsula Railroad Company. What? So let's unpack this. Let's start with the trolleys, the famous red car line. The actual name was the Pacific Electric Railway Company, which was a privately owned mass transit system in SoCal consisting of electrically powered streetcars, and it was the largest electric railway system in the world in the 1920s. The southern district of the line included Long Beach, San Pedro, and Redondo Beach. And in 1904, the Pacific Electric Company goal was to extend the San Pedro line to, quote, run around and through the Palos Verdes Hills to Redondo and then to Santa Monica. Now, at this time, the PV population and infrastructure was pretty sparse. Compare the settled areas in 1900 versus 1930. Need more of a contrast? Here's 1950 Palos Verdes compared to today. Now, in all fairness, during this era, it's not like even LA was crisscrossed with freeways. There were none, or even roads. The popularity of the car was just starting to increase with the introduction of the Ford Model T in 1908. No surprise then, given the remoteness of Palos Verdes, it was a fundamental element in the development plans of the peninsula. In 1914, Frederick Olmsted Jr. wrote that the key part of the peninsula was the railway. Now, if you look at the topo map of PV, you'll note that it's essentially a hill. So where would the trolleys go in PV? Well, the only flat areas are around the coast, so you can pretty much look at the gap in the trolley lines from Redondo and San Pedro and connect the dots along the coastline. But wait, you say, these are multi-million-dollar homes. Hard to believe that folks would run a trolley around and through such prime real estate. Well, these weren't multi-million-dollar homes back in the day, and the developers wanted buyers. I mean, take a gander at Balboa or Redondo at the same time. The trolley line ran right along the beach. Think about the value of that property. So let's take a detailed look at the planned line. Here's the map showing the planned route. Let's zoom in and see what it looks like in all of the specific sections. I'll highlight the planned rail lines in red. Now, the initial plan was to run it along the coast, as I mentioned, or through tunnels. Well, tunnels, that's interesting. I'm guessing the tunnels would be in the area between Malaga and PV Drive West, here and perhaps here. Farther south, the rail lines transition into the center of the road. And while I don't have the information, it seems pretty obvious that the line would continue through Rancho Palos Verdes, eventually making its way to San Pedro. Well, needless to say, the extension didn't materialize. So in 1925, in the typical solution, common in LA, they started a bus service from PV Malaga Cove to the Redondo Beach line. Well, let's jump to today, and let's look at some of the vestiges of the planned trolley line in the modern day. We'll start in RPV near the border with PV. It's showing the typically huge road at the corner of Hawthorne and Palos Verdes Drive West. Plenty of room for a trolley. So here we are driving on PV Drive West, heading north. You can see this wide center median, and this is where they had planned to have the trolley tracks run. As you can see, there's plenty of real estate here as we come up upon Lunada Bay. And as we approach Lunada Bay, we pan through and follow the Ford. It's not quite what the sales brochure from the era promised, although it's nice though. So now we're going to transition to this northern part, and this is where the median ends. I'm guessing this is where the tunnel would terminate. Let me just hit the speed button on here. We're not going fast, it's just ×2, don't worry. But you can get an idea of this section of the road, how tight and twisty and mountainous it is. So it must be the tunnel section here. And for those of you with sharp eyes, a McLaren is coming up in just a few seconds to show you how affluent the area is. Just past it. So next we're going to transition to Malga Cove. This is the direction we're coming from. We're going to pan, we're going to look at the intersection, and we're going to see the Maserati and now the Range Rover, and they're going to have a little dispute about who goes through the intersection. Well, why is this? Let's look back from the other direction, and we can see it's a four-way intersection with an additional road that the Amazon truck is on. Let's follow this road and try to understand why it's here. Off to our left is the City Hall and the police station and the fire station. It was also the planned location for the trolley station. Gonna speed up the film a little bit. I am not speeding in front of the police station, but you see it parallels the road we were just on, and right around here, you'll note on the left, it continues on straight, it stops. This was the trolley path that would then lead to the tunnel and then go to where the divided road is. Well, let's pop back into Malaga and look at the direction from where the trolley comes in from the Redondo and Torrance area. You can see plenty of real estate for a trolley to negotiate the turn. Let's follow A1 roofing and transition over to the lovely Malaga Plaza. This is a great place. If you're in the area, you have to stop. The country store there has great food, good prices, nice people. But you can see it's a beautiful area. And then continuing our travels, heading to the other direction, we can see that there's a center divider, but for reasons that escape me, the trolley plans were actually to run between the houses. Don't think I'd want a trolley in my backyard. Imagine the noise. But even though I don't have information, I'm guessing the trolley would continue along this route until it meets up with the rail line from Torrance to San Pedro. Oh, speaking of San Pedro, one of the things that they didn't take into account, and they frankly probably didn't know, is that this area of the peninsula is famous for landslides. This is a NASA shot showing the landslide in Portuguese Bend, and San Pedro also had major landslides. So this would have been pretty problematic for any rail line. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the mystery of the Palos Verdes Peninsula Railroad. The Pomona Train Museum has a carriage on display. It's a luxury product, but by far the most interesting bit is that it was originally owned by the Palos Verdes Peninsula Railroad. Now, I enlisted the help of the researchers at the Palos Verdes Library to find out more, and nothing. They couldn't find out anything. And as we know, no tracks were ever laid in Palos Verdes, so just what the heck is this? Does anyone know? If you know, please put it in the comments below. Sorry to leave you hanging. So now, what's left today of the Red Car line? Well, not much. Seal Beach has one on display. San Pedro used to have a replica that went along the waterfront, and a brew pub is named after it in Torrance. As for the Palos Verdes Peninsula Railroad, the carriage is on display in Pomona. If you enjoy train mysteries and or South Bay history, make sure to catch up on some of my other videos of the South Bay. If you've been watching this far, I thank you.
Bye.